Hey, what you gotta say? This is Jackie from Out of the Cloakroom, and I just feel like reading another excerpt from the book Urban Tales of the Bible by T.S. Holder. Yes, I feel it in my spirit right now, or as they say in my shana now. It really is such a great learning tool for those who are new in the Lord, for those who aren't new in the Lord, but want a fun way to gain understanding of the stories of the Bible. This could even be used as a Bible study tool. I guarantee you that it would be a lively Bible study. Anyways, this excerpt is coming from Genesis 22, the story where God tells Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. T.S. Holder titles this chapter, Abraham is Acting Suspect. The story picks up after God has told Abraham what he wants him to do. Now, Abraham should have known that this was just a test because God previously told him in Genesis 17 that he would confirm his covenant with Isaac and his descendants as an everlasting covenant. How quickly Abraham forgot. All night long, Abraham tossed and turned, wondering how he would have the strength to sacrifice his only son. And even more, he wondered what Sarah was going to do to him when she found out that he had sacrificed Isaac. He tossed and turned so much that Sarah asked, "Abraham, honey, are you all right? Why are you so antsy and anxious tonight?" Abraham replied, "I'm okay, honey. I just have a lot on my mind. I just want so much for our son. Sarah answered, "Yes, I do understand. He has a lot to learn. And we have a lot to give him. Everything will be fine, honey. Now, good night. Go to sleep and be still because you're disturbing my rest." Abraham thought to himself, "What a selfish hussy. You just do not know how disturbed your rest will be after I do what the Lord says. And while I'm at it, Lord, how could you ask this of me? Why should I have to sacrifice my only son? I love you, but I don't want to burn my son. I guess as the saying goes, not my will, Lord, but your will be done. Regardless of how I feel about it, geesh, Lord, isn't there anything else you could ask me to do?" Abraham then turned over and tried his best to get some sleep, but his mind was racing like a horse at the thought of burning his son alive. Regardless of how much his mind was racing, he knew he better be still in that bed and not wake Sarah. Being the obedient man that he was, Abraham got up early the next morning, loaded up his transport donkey, picked his best two servants to take with him, and called to Isaac so that they could be on their way. Mount Moriah was 55 miles away from where they lived. 5 is the biblical number of grace, so 5 miles is double grace. God's grace was with Abraham and Isaac, especially Isaac. He needed it the most. Side note. Now, doesn't Mount Moriah sound like an old wooden Baptist church that sits off a dirt road out in the country somewhere? Well, anywho, when Abraham had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for Mount Moriah, the place God told him about. On the third day, Abraham was growing weary and worried even more about his assignment. But as he was walking and wondering, he looked ahead, and lo and behold, he saw Mount Moriah, the place that God said he would show him. Abraham said to his servants, "Watch over this donkey for me. I'm going to take Isaac way over there, and we will worship for a while, and then we will be back." Note, Mount Moriah. Abraham saw Mount Moriah on the third day. This is notable because it was on the third day that Jesus rose from the dead. An interesting fact to take note of. Things happen on the third day. Back to the story. Abraham made Isaac carry the wood, and he carried the fire and the knife. As the two of them went on together, Isaac thought that this entire situation seemed suspect, especially since he had seen his father make sacrificial offerings before, but this time there was no animal to sacrifice with the offering. Isaac began to wonder what was up with all of this. Isaac finally spoke up and said, Daddy." Abraham said, "Yes, my son." Isaac responded, "We have the fire and the wood, but where's the lamb for the burnt offering? Where's the animal?" The closer they got to their altar location, the clearer Isaac wanted to be on the situation at hand. He was more than a little concerned about what was unfolding and kept giving Abraham the side eye. Abraham thought to himself, "He's a smart one. Nothing gets past this one." Abraham said to Isaac, "Sometimes, Isaac, God provides the lamb for the burnt offering." Now, Isaac was still concerned and growing more anxious by the second, but he accepted the answer. After all, that was his father, whom he knew loved him and would not harm him. So the two of them continued on together. When they finally reached the place God had told Abraham about, Abraham set up an altar and placed the wood on it. He then looked at Isaac with very sad eyes, grabbed him before he could run away, and then Abraham tied Isaac up and put him gently on top of the wood. wood. Lord, when Isaac found himself laying on top of the wood, his worst fears had come alive. And he said to himself, I knew that I should have ran fast and far away from what Daddy had going on. Did I not ask him where was the lamb for the burnt offering? Did he not give me that line about God providing? If I get off this altar, I bet I'll follow my mind next time, and if I don't see a lamb, I won't be a lamb. Isaac was surely crying out to God to save him, because at this point Isaac probably thought that his father had lost his mind. Isaac said, Father, what are you doing? God's people do not sacrifice their humans, let alone their own child. Isaac cried out real loud, Lord, please touch my daddy's mind and get me off this altar. At that moment, while Isaac was crying out to the Lord, Abraham took out the knife and was about to kill his only son when the Lord called out to him all the way from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. Abraham heard his name echoing and said with a sigh of relief, Yes, Lord, yes. The Lord said, Do not lay a hand on that boy. Don't you do anything to him. Now that I have seen just how far you will go to please me, you have passed the test, and I know that you fear me because you were willing to kill your son just because I asked you to do it. Child Isaac was rejoicing and thanking the Lord for hearing his cries and stopping his father from killing him. If Isaac had not still been tied down to the altar, he would have been dancing and shouting in a serious praise break. About this time, Abraham looked away to wipe the tears, and there in the thick part of the grass he saw a ram with the horns caught in something. Child Abraham ran over to the thick grass, grabbed that ram, and he did not let the altar that he put together go to waste. He gladly sacrificed that ram instead of Isaac. Isaac saw this and said to himself, Now you see, if Daddy had just waited a moment longer and not been in such a rush, the Lord would have provided the offering like he said. I knew that Daddy, or should I say Abraham, was doing too much when he put me up there on that altar. You wait till I get home. I'm going to tell Mama on him, and he already knows she don't play when it comes to her precious miracle baby Isaac. She don't play when it comes to me. So Abraham said, a good name for this spot is the Lord will provide. You better know that with all of that drama, and as Isaac told his mother and friends, this is still talked about, and it is very often said, on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. Many sermons have been preached even today about this with titles such as A Ram in the Bush. Abraham done lost his mind. Wait on God because he will provide. Isaac can pray too. And my favorite, Sarah whooped Abraham. Now, you know I like that chapter. That's from the book Urban Tales of the Bible by T.S. Holder. That chapter is titled Abraham is Acting Suspect. So I would like for you to support this new and upcoming Black author T.S. Holder and go to Amazon and get your book. Support this author. Urban Tales of the Bible by T.S. Holder. We will be back with many more excerpts. Be blessed and go and be great.